Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Your Wildest Fantasy Football Show. Actually, our 10th episode.
Woo! Double
It's crazy that we made it this far.
I thought we'd get shut down by now. Really did.
I know. You would have thought YouTube would have been on it, saying those guys are up to no good.
Nah.
But we're just trying to help the people. And sometimes that means being up to no good. Sometimes that means being up to good. And that's what we're going to hope to be up to today as we break down Monday Night Football and then give you guys our waiver picks for the week. But we have somewhere very interesting to start. There was a big injury that broke out this week. David Montgomery went down in the fourth quarter. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. And during that discussion, I don't have a clip, but I'm pretty sure we could reenact it. To where I said something along the lines of, David Montgomery, we don't know how long he's going to be out, but it seems like he's going to miss some games.
Right.
And then Cody said...
He said he's going to miss 5 games. He said 5 weeks.
You actually said...
Oh, did I say 4 to 5?
4 to 5 games.
I did.
Mark it down right now. Or something along those lines.
Right.
And I wrote down on my notes yesterday... 4 to 5 games. I don't know where it is. 4 to 5 weeks, right here.
Right.
Right there.
So I called it before it was out for.
This does not help. Like, first off, that's an awesome prediction. So,
thank you.
Good. I don't know how you got that right. But
I've told you, I just have my nose to the ground and just really know my fantasy, know my football players.
I don't know how putting your nose on the ground helps that at all. But
yes,
I don't think it helps the assumption that some people have that you may be the reason that David Montgomery is hurt. I think this if anything exemplifies the Cody curse, this might be the perfect example of it.
Yeah, I mean,
you trade him away and then he's out for 4 to 5 weeks and you predict that he's going to be out for 4 to 5 weeks.
Right. I mean, so I don't want to expose too much behind the curtain here, but I actually own.
You don't even have curtains. I just see blinds.
Right. I just have blinds. I actually own all 32 NFL teams, so I actually have complete say about who starts, how long they sit for. So, just if you pay me enough, I will start your people. If not, then just expect bad weeks all around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell. Well, the thing is, I understand. I now seeing it.
Right.
Because looking at you living your life of lavish in that pink, it might be one of those.
It's a lawn chair, and it has the adjustable back, so you can
There you go. Nobody has that besides millionaires, and I think that should have been the first sign. Although we did not see it until yesterday, because as we mentioned yesterday, your dog crapped on your chair.
She did
normally talk.
Exactly.
But as soon as we saw that, we should have said this guy's a millionaire, possibly billionaire, because he owns 32 NFL organizations.
Right.
And I think that just makes our show better too.
It does.
That's having a guy who owns every team goes a long way in making our show what it is.
Right. That's why we haven't been taken down from YouTube yet. I just pay them enough to keep us around.
Yeah. So we have Monday Night Football to break down here. Yeah. Chargers win in a pretty convincing fashion. First off, there was a weather delay due to lightning. Should have been a pretty big sign that the Chargers
are going to win.
We're going to have a night bolt up. But also, how can you have a delay due to lightning when you play indoors? That's a very big question that I have that I don't think will be answered on the show. But if anyone else
I mean, I have the answer if you'd like to hear it.
That would be awesome.
I was getting food delivered from Domino's, and they weren't there on time, so I had to just say delay a game. So it's really my fault, but Domino's mainly. So, blame anyone, blame Domino's.
That's fair. I mean, if Domino's sponsored, then they probably wouldn't get any blame. But under these circumstances, certainly. So let's talk about this game specifically after it got underway. I wanted to do something a little different today. I didn't want to talk about players individually and go through and just say, what do we think about each guy? I had some maybe overreactions, maybe not overreactions that people may have following yesterday's game. And I want to discuss whether each thing is an overreaction or is not an overreaction. How does that sound?
I like it.
Okay. I was hoping for love, but like will do. So, biggest name, obviously Eckler had a monster game, 29.5 fantasy points in full point PPR, 15 rushes, 117 yards and a touchdown, and 3 for 28 and a touchdown through the air. He has 3 straight 20-point games in full point PPR. My overreaction is Eckler is a top 5 fantasy running back rest of the season.
Rest of season, I think it's an overreaction. He's 16th right now in PPR. I just don't see the Chargers using him more. I think he might get a couple more carries and catches, obviously. But the dude has 4 touchdowns already this year. He's not. I don't think, if we think of Austin Eckler, I don't think we think of a guy who gets you 20 touchdowns in the season. He's averaging 1 a week. Does he get 17 this year? Maybe. I don't think so. So I think the numbers go down a little bit. But I think that the fact that he is their lead back on an offense that does score, he does have receiving value. He can catch. So I think he's a really nice player. I just don't know if he finishes in top 5 this year.
Yeah, he's a guy that I'm really happy to have if I picked late in the first round as my RB1. But just looking at the names ahead of him, I think I'd rather have Christian McCaffrey. I'd rather have Dalvin. I'd rather have Zeke and Derrick Henry. And I'd probably rather have Aaron Jones. And I think that's where the discussion really gets started at 5. So I'd lean.
So Najee, Saquon, and Kamara aren't in your top 5? Okay.
They're out of my top 4. Yes.
Okay, fair.
And those guys are all in that conversation too. I'm not complaining about having a top 10 running back on my team,
right. He's top 16 right now. So
I think he's going to be a top 10 running back at the end of the year.
Right.
I had him preseason as my RB9, and I feel like that's around where he'll finish at the end of the year.
Right.
Guy that has not been as much of a monster, Keenan Allen, 7 for 36, 10.8 in full point PPR. Full point has probably been where he's performed the best just because of the receptions, but has not lived up to the expectation of being a wide receiver 1. He was drafted as the wide receiver 9 overall in drafts. He's currently the wide receiver 17 in full point, but again, it's mostly due to that volume. Is Keenan Allen going to be able to turn this around and be a wide receiver 1 rest of the season?
I think that's it's tough because Keenan Allen, he has the big name potential, like Keenan Allen years past has been a top 10 guy. This year he's hovering around 30, 28 right now in full point, half point probably even lower.
He's wide receiver 17 in full point.
Full point 28.
Wrong.
Position rank is 28 after this.
ESPN doesn't update the position ranks yet. If you look at it by points, he's 17.
All right. Belay my last. He hasn't boom or busted either this week. In any week, he's just been in the middle. So I guess you're happy with that. He hasn't lost you a week yet. But I don't know if he has that number 1 potential right now. He has the potential. Sorry, he has the potential. I don't know if he gets there right now.
It's hard because you see that Mike Williams and we'll talk more about Mike Williams, but you've seen what he's done over the first few weeks.
Right.
You kind of expect that to come down to earth, which it has come down to earth at this week.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't really know who's the number one. And we've seen the big concern from him has been the explosive plays in his career, and just being that he has a low like yards per catch. He makes up with that with his volume.
Right.
But that was really one of my concerns when thinking about guys like Terry McLaurin ahead of him and stuff like that. So I'd say Keenan is probably more in that high to mid wide receiver 2 category. Kind of reminds me of like a Deontay Johnson situation, although it'd be hard to say that you would rather have Keenan Allen over Deontay Johnson at this point.
Right.
It's a weird situation, but I'm not panicking on Keenan Allen.
I'm not panicking. I don't think you sell him. I mean, he hasn't lost you a week. He just hasn't won you a week yet. Like, you know, I mean, the lowest he's had is this week with 10.6 points and full point PPR. One thing that kind of scares me a little bit is that they threw 3 touchdowns in the end, like inside like the 30, basically. I think inside the 20s, all 3. I'm not entirely sure. But Jared Cook caught one, Austin Eckler caught one, and Parham caught one. Like Keenan Allen in the end zone, like in the red zone, didn't get it. So I like that kind of scares me a little bit, especially with the low average like catches. I mean,
he is leading the team in red zone targets, though.
Right. But I mean, like, I don't know. But he only has 1 touchdown on the year. So, like, what are those targets doing for him?
Well, you can't play it both ways. You can't say Austin Eckler has 4 touchdowns. He's not going to get more touchdowns. And then Keenan Allen only has 1 touchdown. He's not going to get any touchdowns. I feel like
I'm just saying
he gets. Right?
I'm saying he gets touchdowns. I'm just saying he wasn't the guy they were looking to this game. It's like,
yeah,
if this happens a couple more times, like he gets you 10 points, no touchdowns, and 36 yards, then I think this is a different discussion. I'm just saying, like, Keenan Allen might not be the Keenan Allen of old for this new young Chargers offense. I just think that, I mean, if he leads his team in red zone targets, then great. He's not producing on 90% of them, though. So,
would you trade him for a guy like Tyler Lockett if you could?
I don't like Tyler Lockett just because I think that DK Metcalf comes into it a little bit more. And so, no, just because I don't like Tyler Lockett, though.
Fair enough. I don't really think you could get a Deontay Johnson or anybody else around that. Would you trade him for a guy like Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb?
I would do it for Cooper. I wouldn't do it for CeeDee, but I'd do it for Cooper.
I would be the opposite, I think.
Okay.
If I would do it for CeeDee. I'm not sure I would even do it for CeeDee. So maybe I do like Keenan Allen more than I thought.
Yeah, but it seems like you really love Keenan Allen.
I think he's probably going to be in that 12 to like 18 range, or 10 to 18 range. So maybe back end wide receiver 1. Who knows? Overreaction number 3. Sell Mike Williams while you still can. Only 1 catch, 11 yards on 4 targets. Wide receiver 5 in fantasy right now.
That's tough. I don't know if you sell him. Like, I don't have very many shares of Mike Williams this year. But this game seems to be an outlier for me. Like, the dude's put up 22 points 2 weeks and, 30-something the following week. I think this week was just an outlier. I don't think that this is going to happen very often.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you can get, because being a wide receiver 5 in fantasy, if you could get a guy like a Deontay Johnson, who I brought up before, for him, I would probably do that. But if you look at Mike Williams' numbers, I think this is one instance where touchdowns and having 4 touchdowns on the year is actually a good thing for the rest of the season, because if you look in the red zone, he has 5 completed catches for 4 touchdowns. So not only are they looking at him in the red zone, they are looking at him in the end zone. He is their end zone target. If just seeing on 8 targets in the red zone, 4 of them have been touchdowns.
Right.
So he is there, and he should be. It's a big target, big guy to jump up, get the ball.
Right.
I like him, but I think the value is also, it's kind of like that Cooper Kupp situation where it's so high a value right now. I think you have to at least consider moving.
If you can find someone with a higher floor, then take it. But like, I don't think you panic sell him. Like, I don't think you go out and actively shop him for like a discount. I think you like hear offers though that try to like improve your team.
Would you trade Mike Williams and a guy like a bench receiver, maybe like Sterling Shepard or a Renfro for D-Hop? So I think I would do that.
I don't know if I would. So Mike Williams, you're giving up Mike Williams and Hunter Renfro for D-Hop? I don't know if you do it.
I think so. I think I would do it.
I wouldn't do it. I mean, I think Hunter Renfro is a great wide receiver, and I think Mike Williams has wide receiver 1 upside with wide receiver 2 like potential. Like,
what about wide receiver 1 upside, wide receiver 2 potential?
Something like that.
Whatever. What about a guy like Juju or like AB instead of Renfro?
I don't know. I just don't think. I mean, I know D-Hop's going to like come into it soon. Obviously, the biggest name on that roster, and I mean, they throw the ball so much. I'm pretty sure Kyler's like 3rd in pass yards this year or something like that. So obviously, they're just chucking it. I don't know if I do it though. I don't know if I do it for him.
Interesting. I would do that one.
Okay.
I can understand your side of things though. The last guy I wanted to bring up, and I don't really have an overreaction because I don't know if it was a good day or a bad day, or I don't know if the public would think about it as a good day or a bad day.
Okay.
What do you make of Josh Jacobs' week this week? He had 10.7 in full point PPR. I think it's important to note just because double digits versus single digits is such a big,
right.
I think,
it's a bigger deal
from what the perception is. But he had 8.2 and half point PPR, 13 rushes, 40 yards, 5 catches for 17 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I don't love Josh Jacobs this year, but you can't move him though. Like, who would want him? For who though? Like, who?
I would want him.
Right. I mean, a lot of people would want him, but like, you're not gonna get.
It's interesting because like
you're not gonna get a fair thing for Josh Jacobs. I mean, he missed 2 weeks. And he had 17 points week 1, 10.7 points this week, but he missed weeks 2 and 3. I think when healthy, he gets you 10 plus points. It's especially at running back. It's such a hard position to like go after and get. Like, it's easier to trade and get a wide receiver from someone and then like stash a couple of them and just put them up in a good matchup. But it's hard to have a good good running back for cheap. And I think that Josh Jacobs is someone that you should keep just because he is a running back who a lot of people might want and try to lowball you on. And I don't think you should do it.
What the hell is that?
Oh, Apple. Eat healthy.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very encouraged by Josh Jacobs' performance. 5 catches.
Right.
I don't know if that's ever happened with Josh Jacobs. That's awesome. So if
right.
that
I mean, he's back in the pass, or he's into the pass game now.
Yeah, if that keeps up, then he could be strong running back too. But
I don't know.
It is like you said, an interesting situation as far as what can you actually get for him, because I don't think you're going to get into what has been the upper echelon of those perceived running back twos. Like I don't think anyone's trading a Darrell Henderson for him. I think I would consider it'd be tough, but a Miles Sanders or a Mike Davis for sure.
I mean, obviously you would, because Mike Davis and Miles Sanders are having bad years, but like
I don't think they're having awful years.
Well, they're not inside the top 24. They're not inside the top 25. Mike Davis is currently the 29th running back. Miles Sanders is the 33rd.
I don't think
they played
awful for what their expectations.
It's not awful, but like I think you could shop him for someone a little bit higher.
I do not think so.
You don't think you can't get,
I mean, maybe if it's like a name that you don't trust as much, but those are the two like preseason guys that I think you can get. Big name guys. Miles Sanders was expected to finish higher than Josh Jacobs. Mike Davis was around the 26 range. I think you might be able to sell him and get a little bit better with Josh Jacobs.
I just think that if you give a couple people a few more, like another week or so, Josh Jacobs is going to have a good performance this week. And some of these guys, like Gibson, Melvin Gordon.
If you trade Gibson for Josh Jacobs, you are a loony.
I don't know.
I do. That is insane.
Because he's not a clear-cut guy back there, but he still gets points. Like, stop. What do you mean, stop? J.D. McKissick's a thing back there.
J.D. McKissick is a thing, but he's been a thing, and Antonio Gibson has been a good running back. And it's not like Josh Jacobs has the backfield to himself.
So Antonio Gibson splits is 11.8, 9.3, 17.4, 15.5. Mm-hmm. Similar numbers to Josh Jacobs, but I
2 games.
That's why I think you could try to trade for him.
I think if you trade Antonio Gibson for Josh Jacobs, you might be just trying to throw your league. That might be collusion.
I don't think it is. I think that you have an unholy expectation for how bad Josh Jacobs is.
I don't think it's – I think – I just talked about how it's good, how it's encouraging. Antonio Gibson is a top 15 running back this season. He's
so
going to be top 15.
Josh Jacobs, you're saying –
Josh Jacobs will not be in the top 15.
Okay.
That's just that. Antonio Gibson is better than Josh Jacobs as a player, I'm pretty sure. Or as a fit. I don't want to go as far as saying that, but as a fit in that offense and what they are doing, I think Antonio Gibson just has a better fantasy value for sure.
Rough. It's rough.
If we want to get the rest of the season who performs better, Antonio Gibson or Josh Jacobs, I'll do that.
It's rough. I think they're similar. Like you're making it sound like Antonio Gibson is like stars, leaps and bounds better than Josh Jacobs.
Correct.
When they've had such similar weeks. Like insanely similar weeks.
I mean, Josh Jacobs has played 2 weeks.
Right. He comes back from an injury, gets 10 points, outscores what Gibson has. Like, come on.
I don't know. I would much rather have Gibson.
Hey, each their own.
That is all I have for this game. Obviously, there were some other big performances, like Jared Cook.
Jared Cook was a big game.
And Renfro caught a touchdown, but I don't think there's
Renfro also had a tackle, so you know.
Yeah, Renfro had a huge hit.
I don't think right. Like people just need to put some love on this man.
He's amazing. He's he's one of the guys. I don't know if his value in fantasy matches up to how much I love to have him on my team.
Right. His real world value for the Raiders is huge. And his fantasy production is not quite there yet. Not quite there is a polite way to say it.
I mean, he's been that is something I had on my list that I just skipped over. He's the wide receiver 21 in full point PPR. Is he a plug and play weekly starter? I think in full point PPR, he is. He's a weekly flex.
He is. I love him.
Yeah. So maybe not as much in half point, but he's still got value. Hunter Renfrow aside, we have
this is the first week that we can't talk about him on the waiver wire. Finally people listen. 55% of you.
Catching on. Week 4 waivers. It's a little bit more busy than it's been the past couple of weeks, luckily. Unfortunately, some injuries to make that happen, but there are some names that we can actually talk about today, at least, and feel good about.
I don't know if feel good's the right answer, but
yeah. Well, we'll find out. So you did not. So do you want to go by priority, at least for the top 2? I think we have the same number 1.
I think our number 1's the same.
I think it's the same number 1 for everybody. Damien Williams, running back from
Damien
Chicago.
Williams. Montgomery's going to be out 4 to 5.
As you predicted.
I predicted it. I don't know why people don't listen to me.
I think as you knew. You didn't predict it. You knew because you own.
I own all
32 NFL franchise.
Right. Having the number 1 back in Chicago is a welcomed sight. Top 15 fantasy running back, in my opinion.
Top 15?
I'm saying top 15. How did Montgomery do all year?
I don't think he's David Montgomery. But.
I don't think he's David Montgomery either. I think his name's Damien Williams.
I think he'll be good, but I don't know. But top 15 is pretty ambitious, in my humble opinion.
Right. I don't know. Gets a touchdown. I think it's a great week. If not, they could be in for it. Bears have the worst defense though, so it is a little bit tough.
Do they?
They played like they have. Oh, sorry, not their defense. Their offense has been the worst.
Oh,
my bad.
That makes more sense.
I
went from disagreeing strongly to agreeing strongly.
Right. Sorry, my bad. I misspoke about which side of the ball we're talking about. But yeah, Damien Williams.
Yeah, the only downside with Damien Williams, I think, number 1, he's the only back there, so that's pretty big boost for him. He's semi-long term, and he's going to have some solid trade value. So even if you don't really want him, I would still pick him up as my number 1 because I think you could trade anything for him. You could trade if you wanted somebody else on the waiver wire. I think you could take Damien Williams, get that person that you wanted on the waiver wire in a trade along with somebody else. So the trade value's there. He's been catching he caught a couple passes last week. So that's there. My only concern is Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. That's going to be some tough matchups. But outside of that, he's, in my mind, the clear number 1 guy.
Right. But he plays the Raiders next week and then Green Bay after that before he plays Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you could get 2 good weeks out of him and then trade him and even trade him again. Still probably get similar to what you were going to get for him this week if you trade him. But yeah, I think he's going to be a great plug and play waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on to, I can't say the number 2 because I feel like he's going to be the number 2 for most people. So I'll
let you go. Say it. Say what you
I will let you take it because he's not my second option. He's actually my 5th option on waivers. But
so he's not the guy that I'm saying go out to get. But I'm saying if you are a Joe Mixon owner, you want some IJP Ryan. You want to pick him up.
Yeah, no. Obviously.
Yeah, but that I'm just
then who's your number 2 guy?
Those two are just the two guys that I think are situational makes them the 1 and 2 guys.
So if you are not and we'll talk about it more in a second, but if you are not a Mixon owner, are you taking Samaje Perine as the number 2 waiver pickup?
Maybe just for trade leverage.
Okay.
And obviously, so Joe Mixon was week to week for 10 weeks last year. Missed all 10 weeks. He's week to week. So it's just kind of hard as a Mixon owner to be like, oh, yeah, he's going to play this week. Here we go. And then just watch him continually just put up duds of 0 for you on the out. It's kind of tough. So I think just as a precaution, just get Samaje Perine or try to trade him to the Joe Mixon owner. And this year, it is only day to day. But it is an ankle injury again. So
it was a foot injury last year.
Okay. Lower part, 98% lower.
No. We cannot talk about them like they're the same thing. Everyone knows foot and toe are the 2 worst things. You ever heard about a little something called Liz Frank? You better hope you don't.
I'm just saying, for a back who has to cut, your ankle is probably really important. Really important to you.
Stop.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does he not have
you know what else is important to that? Your foot and your toesies, and that's way more important.
I don't know.
What did you dip that in?
Caramel.
Okay, caramel.
Yeah, it's delicious. But yeah, no, I don't like. I'm not high on Samaje Perine. I'm not Perine lover. But I think for this week, objectively, he should be the first or second guy off the thing if you're trying to make a trade with Joe Mixon owner, or if you own Joe Mixon.
I agree with that logic. I do not have him as my number 2. I put him as my number 5 because ankle injury does not scare me as much as it would if it was a foot or toe, because as we know, foot and toe, he's not going to go, is the old saying goes. I believe it was Vince Lombardi that spewed that out once.
He might have. I wasn't there.
You weren't. I thought you would know him personally from when you owned the Green Bay Packers 60 years ago, but I think it'd be more than that. But Samaje Perine, I'm not as worried about the Mixon thing, and I think at the most he's going to miss 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think it's more likely that he misses 1 week. And let's say Samaje Perine plays this week. Green Bay is not great against the run. They're not bad. I'm not sure that he's going to be a workhorse like Damien Williams is. I think he's going to share, especially the passing downs, which may even be more valuable with Chris Evans, not Captain America, different guy. Is a running back in the NFL.
Right.
And I don't think it's as optimal of a running situation as some of these other situations like Carolina and Chicago, where I just don't. And this is more of a gut call. Like maybe a Cincinnati running back comes in and performs. Like, we don't expect him to perform up to Mixon standard, but we expect him to perform up to a startable standard. I don't know if he gets close to that. Like, I still say he's a pretty risky flex where I'd say Williams has to be in your lineup.
Right.
I'm not sure if Samaje Perine has to be in your lineup if you were to get him. And then I don't really see the value in getting him. Number 1, we're relying on if he plays this week, which is seems more likely on the outside than I guess like my maybe biased mind, just being a big Mixon guy and
you have Joe Mixon on your team,
weeks,
and he's your starter. So,
But I have Darrell Henderson, so I'm not too worried about it.
Right.
I actually have Darrell Henderson in both situations. But
I just think that, I mean, Green Bay's better against the pass than they are against the run. They ranked 9th against the pass and 15th against the rush so far. So I think it's a legitimate middle of the road run defense, and he doesn't catch passes, so that does kind of hurt him.
He does. He did catch some balls. I just don't think he'll be the primary.
No, he's not the primary guy. I think Chris Evans is going to be the primary pass catcher, third down back. But I think Samaje Perine is like the bulldozer for him this week, and maybe even next week, and maybe even in like 4 or 5 weeks from now. That's why I just he's an interesting guy to pick up.
Weeks.
You never know. This week it's the ankle, next week it's the foot. A week after that,
it's not getting to the foot, Cody. Don't put that on him.
Had to. You didn't trade it to me, so
Well, if you traded him to you, then he'd be freaking fine.
Yeah, exactly. So really, if you cared about his health, you trade him to me, but you don't want to do those trades. So,
I mean, I care about him being in a winning organization more than I think he's fine with that. I think he wants to hoist up the trophy at the end. Okay, that wasn't an apple. What was that? Is that grilled cheese?
It's grilled cheese, but I think with either ham or turkey.
Special in that?
Ham or turkey.
Ham and turkey, or ham
or turkey? I can't.
So you're not sure what it is. It could be mystery meat for all you know.
I hope it's not spam, but it could be.
Let's get on to ham or turkey.
Let's get on to our. So he was my second. Well, I kind of had him and Williams kind of together.
Really?
Well, I think Williams has more of he should be the guy people pick up. But Perine is someone if you're a Joe Mixon owner, I feel like you pick him up. So that's why I put him up there, and I feel like if you're trying to trade that's why he's up there.
No, I think that's a very good reason, is trying to trade him to the Mixon owner, but it's also taking pretty big risk, because if Mixon does by chance end up healthy, then you kind of wasted a pick.
You did, but I mean,
it depends how valuable you think about these other guys. If you don't like some of the other guys on the waiver wire, I think it's as good of a deal as any. I'm not going to complain about people taking him at 2, depending on their reasoning. And I think trade value is a very good reason.
Right. So I guess those two are together. So he wasn't really my second, but I guess by default he is.
Should I talk about my second? I feel like I should, just so you get mad at me.
I already know I'm gonna be mad, but go for it. Let the people be mad at you too.
So my second is a guy who might not play right away.
Probably won't play at all, but who knows?
But a guy that I think for the rest of the season, and if you know me on waivers, I don't really value the 1 to 2 week guys as much as I value the rest of the season guys, and that's another reason why I put Samaje Perine so low. But I think I understand now. I understand the stash Trey Lance talk. I talked, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago about how I don't get it. The guy put up 20 fantasy points in half. It's insane. I mean, you just look at what he was able to do and how much they had him running the ball. He had 7 carries in half. You could be getting running back numbers and quarterback numbers at your quarterback position, and that's unreal. The question is not if he plays, or the risk is if he plays, but it's also not a risk if he plays, because if he does play, I think he has as high of a floor in fantasy football as anyone, because it's like that Hurts effect.
As anyone,
high as a floor, yes, because it's the Hurts effect. It's the running quarterback effect, the Lamar effect, where if you get 40 rushing yards a game, you can throw 2 picks and have a decent fantasy game. You get a rushing touchdown, you can throw a pick. and it's the same value as passing touchdown. It's just what that rushing ability gives you. And I think he's a stash for anybody. Like, even if you have a good quarterback, because obviously, number one, injuries. And then number two, I mean, I think that kind of value is worth it to anybody. So, especially if he goes off and then another team doesn't have a quarterback, and you want to trade him to them for a haul, or if you want to trade whoever else you have. If you have a guy like an Aaron Rodgers and he's outperforming him in fantasy, not in real life, in fantasy, I think Trey Lance, I was going to have him lower, but I was also going to say, if I don't take him and he goes off, I'm going to kick myself. And if he goes off, who knows? Like, if he plays this week and goes off, there's a chance that he could be the starter the rest of the way, unlike Samaje Perine, or unlike just anybody who's like a week fill-in. So I like Trey Lance as a really, really high upside waiver pickup this week.
I mean, quarterbacks are usually drafted to be the starter eventually. And in today's NFL, not many teams draft a quarterback and then let him sit for 2 or 3 years. They usually throw him in. Yeah, I mean, he got 2 touchdowns. He only had 157 yards. But, I mean, he only played a half. But I don't know if he gets 300 yards and 4 touchdowns every game and then runs it for 80 yards. Like, I don't know about that. I don't want to. Well, if I'm just saying, he played for a half.
And that's the thing. All you need him to do is put up like those numbers to have a decent week.
I mean, yeah, it's 20 points. It is a nice week, but I don't know if, like, I guess it really depends on who your quarterback is. Like, if you don't have one of the top, like, 8 guys, or, like, if looking at the quarterbacks, the guy who is around, like, 9 or 10, it's Russell Wilson, Lamar, Kirk, and Dak. Like, if you have Lamar, I don't think you're like, you know what? Let me get Trey Lance. Let me get Lamar, but, like, a discount version of him, and just drop Lamar or just not play him. I think Lamar has more upside. I think Russell Wilson has more upside. I think Kirk Cousins doesn't have as much mobility, but I think he has more upside.
Really? I don't think he has more upside.
He was the number 4 quarterback before.
I think you could argue that he's safer, but I don't think he has more upside. I don't think there's many guys who have more upside than Lance.
I think that the fact that Kirk Cousins was like QB4 for 3 weeks, and then last week was a snooze fest. It was terrible to watch. But, like, minus last week, he's still a starting quarterback in 12-team leagues, just based off position. And Dak's right behind him. And then someone you love, Taylor Heineke.
I think Taylor Heineke's, I said, a good streaming option. Now that we figured out streaming option, I think that's fair. Not this week, but the next 2 weeks. I wouldn't pick him up on waivers, though.
Maybe.
You're not making the same investment in him.
I mean, Trey Lance gets this week, potentially. You're not even 100% sure if Jimmy G is going to be out. He's listed as questionable, not out.
Correct.
So, you don't know. It's a calf injury, which, as Kondo said, it's not a foot or a toe. So, obviously, it means that he's just going to play since it's not a toe or a foot.
It's a higher likelihood for sure.
Right. He could play, and you could just waste this pick on a quarterback. If you have a top 6 pick, you're telling me you're picking this guy up.
I'm taking Trey Lance. I think, depending on my situation, obviously, I think that's one thing that we talk about all the time. We didn't talk about today, but
we kind of did for Damien Williams and Samaje Perine.
Like, if I have Joe Mixon, I might take Samaje Perine over Trey Lance. But if I don't, I'm taking Trey Lance as my number 2. And I think that is a bold pick, but we've already established that I have some bold picks.
You do. I mean, it kind of fits you. Well, I just know how everyone's going to play. I just spew out the facts here. I don't hate it. It depends on your quarterback, though. Like, I think Damien Williams is a guy that, like, no matter who you have for running backs, you pick him up, and he'll give you a trade value and or a starting flex, whatever, for 4 to 5 weeks. Samaje Perine, if you're a Mixon owner, I think makes a lot more sense. And also, if you're trying to trade with a Mixon owner, I think Trey Lance needs a very specific set of events to make him relevant. He needs Jimmy G to be out, and then he needs to play well against the Cardinals. Cardinals don't have a great defense, but their offense is crazy good this year.
I think that makes it a big opportunity for him to play well, right? Like,
right.
It's going to mean he's going to have to sling it around.
But if he starts slinging it around, how do you think he's going to do, though?
I don't know. I think it's worth the risk.
Right. I'm trying to find him. I can't even see him on these rankings here. He's kind of far down.
Well, no crap. He played one game. Yeah. He played one half.
I was going for accuracy, and he wasn't there. So
accuracy? Where do you look up accuracy? You got the PFF subscription?
I got everything, baby. I told you, I'm the owner. Don't you ever forget it. He went 10 for 19. I mean, he does sling it around like 15 yards a completion, but like I don't know. We're gonna see it this week, and if he even plays, so it's a big.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think even if he doesn't play this week, if you want to stash him and wait, because you said it's not likely that quarterbacks just sit for a whole year after being drafted 5 overall, and I don't. Jimmy G, I kind of expected Jimmy G to play most of the year, if not the whole year, but Jimmy G has looked not great. So I think there is a bigger possibility than not, especially after how he played last week to kind of bring him back into the game, that Trey Lance could get an opportunity here. Maybe even after the bye week. Who knows if he doesn't play this week.
Right. I mean, if Jimmy G's out this week, then I'm sure Trey Lance will have a moderately good week. I don't think he's going to be in the top 5 this week.
Yeah, I'm not starting him unless I need to. But
that's why I said based off quarterback, I think you can just pick up one of those low-end QB1s that I just talked about.
Yeah, I think it's more of an upside play for later in the season. And especially if he's the starter come what would be fantasy playoff time, because depending on when your playoffs start, say they go week 14 to 17, which I think is what they normally do in most leagues. Now that there's an 18-game season, plays Cincinnati, Atlanta, Tennessee, Houston. None of those defenses scare you at all. So that would be very good as well. You got to make it there first, but that is a very good playoff schedule. I'm going to get to enough about me talking about Trey Lance, bragging him up. I think this is going to be the next person for both of us.
I'll let you say it because I don't know, but maybe.
I'm just going to put it up on the screen. See how your reaction is.
Interesting. So yes and no. Like I love him.
I just want to make it known for the podcast audience. Dawson Knox, tight end Buffalo, is my third priority.
So I talked him up last week, and I think I talked him up maybe even the week before. I can't 100% remember. More than probably 3 minutes behind or in front. I love him. I think I talked him up last week. So to me, I didn't put him on my list just because I already talked him up. I feel like people should have picked him up. And if you didn't, then you're lost. But he's still out there in a lot of leagues. So hey,
yeah, Dawson Knox still out there in around 70% of leagues.
Right.
We talked about kind of yesterday. Said this year's Tunyon, and I think that's pretty fair comparison. Saw an encouraging target volume last week too. 8 targets. He has second most catches in the red zone behind Diggs. High volume and high scoring situation.
Yep.
And his upcoming schedule is as good as you could hope for. Kansas City, Tennessee, and then a bye. And then Miami, Jacksonville, and the Jets.
Right.
That's awesome.
I love Dawson Knox. Great. Yeah. That's a good pick. Is
there another tight end that you were going to talk about?
I mean, I talked about Schultz last week.
You did?
Yeah, I believe I talked about him last week. I think he was in mention just because of his game. I remember saying his name last week.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz had a big week again. Mm-hmm. He's had really only one bad fantasy week. Definitely an option. Scary just because of all the weapons there, but
right.
I mean, Gallup's out. Someone's got to take those targets. So definitely someone you should look at. I had someone at 4 to finish out my top 5. We already mentioned Samaje Perine earlier, who is my 5 option. I don't know if you would have put this one down just because he's not available in our leagues. He's not available in too many leagues, just 55% of leagues. But Latavius Murray is
put him down.
Out there.
What is he out there in? 55?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. He did not make my list.
I've been trashing Latavius Murray for I think the last 2 or 3 shows.
Right.
So an odd pick for me here. Something that I definitely had to swallow my pride with. Not too much though, because I don't think he's that much better than I would have expected. Mm-hmm. But if Tyson Williams remains a healthy scratch, I don't think there's a ton of upside with Latavius Murray, but there's rest of season value, which I think you can say that more with him than you could say with Samaje Perine.
Right.
An NFL starting running back has value. And although it's not like great value, it is value. We see that with Michael Carter being kind of a guy that we were all excited about, including me, excited about to start the year. And then once you realize he plays for the Jets, and the Jets running game has just been atrocious for a while now, it kind of kills that excitement a bit. But he's a guy that has some rest of the season value, is going to have just value consistently. And I think he's kind of a spot start running back, which there are not many of that you can put out there with like some comfort of consistency. I don't think he's ever going to be an upside running back that you're going to start all the time, or even I don't think you're ever going to start him based on a matchup. Even if one of your good running backs plays Tampa Bay and Latavius Murray plays Seattle, I'm not sure if you're starting Latavius Murray over them.
No.
But during a bye week, if you're in a pinch, I think he is a fine play.
I don't hate it. I just don't love it. Just because it's Latavius
That's fair.
Murray.
It's Latavius Murray. I think that's
Latavius Murray,
reaction.
so I think that's the reaction to a lot of people.
Yeah. I don't think I loved it, but
no.
It's just that rest of season value to have a guy that is going to have at least something for the next 14 weeks in comparison to someone who may only have it for 1. Obviously, if you're a Joe Mixon owner, you're not taking Latavius Murray over Samaje Perine.
No.
But other than that, if you're looking for a guy for your team, I would say Latavius Murray.
Right.
And it also depends on if you need a running back this week, where your team's at, stuff like that. Do you have any other waiver guys you wanted to talk about?
Yes, I had 2, and then I had a couple honorable mentions that I don't really want to don't need to get into.
Yeah.
But 2 guys that I think should be picked up are Jameson Crowder and Darnell Mooney. Jameson Crowder, I believe, is 20% picked up, and Darnell Mooney's 46 or something like that. So out there in over 50% of leagues, almost 80% for Jameson Crowder. I think Jameson Crowder, in years past, he's been a solid flex option, consistent PPR flex option. I think that's what he can be this year. So he's an interesting guy if you need a wide receiver or just want a little bit of depth at the position. I like him. And Darnell Mooney from the Bears, he seemed to be the number 1 guy for Justin Fields. Granted, Justin Fields can't really throw yet. He's still kind of learning. But when he was able to try to do it, he threw it to Darnell Mooney more than Robinson. So Darnell Mooney looks to be, at least last week, like he was the number one guy. So I like Mooney and I like Crowder. I think both those guys are late end waiver pickups.
Yeah, I didn't bring up Mooney, kind of the same situation as you with the tight end. I brought him up the last 2 weeks.
Right.
I do like Jameson Crowder. That's a good, like, safe option, kind of along the vein of like those other slot wide receivers,
right,
the Hunter Renfrows and stuff like that could emerge, especially with a rookie quarterback needing a kind of safety option. Let's get into kind of the honorable mentions here. I had Tim Patrick. He's in 49.7% of leagues, so probably not going to be available. I also have Mooney, Kenneth Gainwell, who I've talked about every single week.
You have.
Le'Veon, I think, is someone to at least have an eye on. I don't think Latavius Murray is going to like control this backfield if Tyson Williams doesn't play. I think Tyson Williams might be in a interesting like buy for a pack of peanuts situation, because I think you could probably get him for anything right now. He might be the best back there. I think he is the best back.
You might be able to just convince Tyson Williams to just drop him at this point. And they probably won't even be like, oh, no, why would I do that? They just be like, yeah, sure, you're right.
Yeah. Sam Darnold. Yep. Rashad Bateman and T.Y. are both interesting IR guys if you have an IR slot. Jeff Wilson Jr. as well in that situation. Darrell Williams, if you are a Clyde Edwards-Helaire owner, I think is a good pickup as a handcuff. And Marlon Mack, we don't really know about the trade situation, but if he is to get traded, he could go to a good situation. So,
I like your list. It's a good list.
Thank you.
I have Emmanuel Sanders, number one honorable mention. AJ Green with a little bit of pride being shoved because I dropped AJ Green right before he went off for 2 big weeks.
I'm proud of you.
Right, I had to put him in there. Maybe he just starts off slow. Like honestly, I think he's worthy of a roster spot. Josh Gordon could be interesting. I don't like this one, but I think like people might.
I love it.
Like kind of with like the Samaje Perine sort of thing. I think certain situations Josh Gordon could be a good pickup for you. Some people are going to be, Josh Gordon harders and really want him. So if you can pick him up, you might be able to throw him into a deal package and sweeten it up for your end. It's his best days are long behind him. It is what it is.
Was that a Josh Gordon Harters or Josh Gordon Harders?
Both. But Harders was how I intended it.
Which one? I don't know which one that was. Was that the Hart or
hard? Hard. Like.
Gotcha. I get the reference. Yeah.
Right. Tyler Conklin still not being shown enough love. He had a rough week this week, but if you look at the Browns-Vikings game in general, it was bad weeks from everyone. Dalvin, Odell, Hunt had a good week, but happens when you play the Vikings. Van Jefferson on the Rams, wide receiver, interesting guy. Just with the fact that like Cooper Kupp might start getting more tougher coverages, just the fact that he was the number one for like 4 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever. And Robert Woods not emerging super viciously yet. I still think that the Rams offense is good enough to support 3 wide receivers, all within like top 25, at least 30 value. Those 3 guys, or a couple guys, I guess. Sammy Watkins is an interesting one. And again, Marlon Mack and Sam Darnold, but you already covered them. Those are guys who I thought about, but just couldn't pull the trigger on with telling people to pick up.
Cool. Yeah, I like that list. I specifically obviously, Josh Gordon.
Tyler Conklin, yes.
Was an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how good he's going to do. I mean,
it's the name, right?
It's the name. Like, I mean, Le'Veon Bell did really nothing, but just the fact that he was out there, you could probably get people to like overreact and be like, Le'Veon is now the number one back for the Ravens, and people are just going to overhype it. I think if Josh Gordon goes out there and he gets 3 targets and he catches one of them for 30 yards, I think someone's going to have a heart attack and be like, oh my God, he's back. And
yeah.
So, like, he's not someone who I want on my team just because I don't trust him, but he's someone that if you have on your team, you could find someone in your league who is just going to be to die for on him and try to exploit that to your advantage and get someone who is going to be more fantasy relevant or at least help your team better for fantasy.
I agree with that. I can't argue with many of your picks. I think that was maybe the most civil agreements we've had on anything.
Right. I mean, so I want to ask for the people, are you taking Sam Darnold or Trey Lance? If you're taking a pick, which quarter? I think we should go through each one. Like, obviously, Tyler Conklin's the number one tight end everyone should get. I've said that for weeks now. But for quarterback,
I disagree on that.
For quarterback, are you picking Sam Darnold or Trey Lance? Which one are you picking if you need a quarterback? Say your quarterback's, I don't know, someone
who's just get anything.
Right, like if you have like Jameis Winston as your quarterback or Jacoby Brissett or Mac Jones, like who?
I think it depends on what you're looking for too. Like if you're looking for a safe option, I think Sam Darnold might be more of your guy. But if you're looking for an upside pick, say you have a guy like an Aaron Rodgers, I think if you have a better quarterback, you would go Trey Lance because of the upside that he could offer.
I think I disagree with you. I think you go with Sam Darnold.
It was only a matter of time before we disagreed. We can only agree for so long.
I know. I mean,
just a 5-minute segment.
Waiver picks are normally kind of easy to go around. You either love them or you hate them.
Yeah.
I think
do have one question.
CeeDee Lamb owner is stressing. Should I buy low with Deontay Johnson for him? No, I think you keep Deontay Johnson.
That's a tough one.
I like Johnson more than I like CD this year.
I just think Deontay Johnson's safer for sure. Right. I don't think I would be able to do Deontay. And I love Deontay. I've loved him since the start of the year. But
I think it's smarter to keep Deontay Johnson than CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is going to have
like CD.
I like CD too, but I think Deontay Johnson could have more big weeks coming up than CeeDee Lamb. I just think that with the fact that like they're running more and Amari Cooper seems to be the guy that they're trying to target because Amari.
I don't know about that.
Amari's been more relevant.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like CD's not getting targets.
No, he's not. I'm not saying he's not getting targets, but like Amari Cooper, like I don't know. It's kind of tough. Like I feel like he's just there. Like everyone knows it's Amari Cooper's show.
No, we don't know that. It's not true. CeeDee Lamb has more targets on the year.
Yeah, but like he either goes off for a lot or just has none, whereas like Amari Cooper gets like the same amount.
Amari Cooper has more touchdowns. That's been the difference this year.
Right. How many does CD have this year?
CD has 1. Amari Cooper has 3.
That happens.
I mean, you could use the logic. CD's going to catch up, which I think is somewhat fair. I think CD's fine. I just don't think he has the same consistency as Deontay Johnson from week to week.
Deontay Johnson has 2 touchdowns on the year. He missed week 3.
Because that's been his only off week, right?
Right. Like he had 14.6, 19.5, 24.2. He's missing a week and only has 1 more touchdown, and he's outperforming CeeDee Lamb. Like, I think you keep Deontay Johnson. I think you do. Oh, gee.
We have a couple more questions.
Nice.
Nick Westbrook, Keenan, or Denzel Mims rest of the season? That's a very good one. This must be a dynasty deep league.
This has to be the deepest of all leagues.
Yeah. Some would say you're playing in the depths of hell, but
right.
But yeah, I feel like this question doesn't need an answer because any answer is going to be the worst answer imaginable.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say either of those names again as the correct answer.
Just go with Denzel just because Denzel Washington has a cool name and he's a good actor. So like go with him just out of respect. So.
And Mims is only one letter away from mums, which are a type of flower. Flowers pump CO2 into the air.
Actually, yeah, they take CO2 out of the air.
They take CO2 out of the air. They pump oxygen into the air. And I think it just makes us feel better.
I mean, it literally makes you live. So that's a good choice. I think we had another question in there.
We talked about this.
Cody's sitting.
It's a fancy long.
It moves like it's got the cup holder, and then like you can like move the thing, so like you can like relax like that.
How far down does it go?
It goes pretty far.
Can we see?
No, because I had a couch behind me. So
can we move it so we could see?
It'd take way too long.
What do you mean it would take you too long? It's a lawn chair.
Yeah, I have to move everything.
Can you go to the side? Could you like twist around for us?
I could, but I won't because, dog.
Oh, come on.
The dog's sleeping. Can't do it.
The dog's sleeping?
Right next to him.
I just hear a million excuses.
You can hear all the excuses you want. I told you, just come on over. If anyone ever wants to see the chairs, just come on over.
Yeah.
See it in person.
Are you going to give your address out on the internet too?
No, not yet.
Not yet. We're only 10 episodes in, folks. You have to work a little bit harder.
You got to wait till like episode 100 or so. Yes, really. That way I really know you're a real fan.
Yeah. We can really know if we can trust you or not.
Any other questions? Chicken Bacon Ranch or the works rest of season? Chicken Bacon Ranch 24/7, 366 because of the leap year. I don't want anyone thinking we're missing a day here. Chicken Bacon Ranch all year. You know what?
Every year or only leap years?
Every year, including leap years. I just want to include them. That way people were like, oh, it's a leap year. I don't have to do it today. No. February 29th comes around. You still eat Chicken Bacon Ranch.
It's good to know.
Right.
It's good to know. I think on that note, unless there's any other questions.
Any other fancy questions?
We're not fantasy. I feel like those.
Any question at all. Like, I'll answer anything. Foot size?
Josh Gordon is set to make his debut Sunday as well. So Cody's pick, even better at this point.
I told you I'm the owner, baby. I just know what the teams are thinking. Hey, what's up? Should I trade Zeke for Cook, PPR, and I'm 1-3. He has medicine, but won't give him up for not anything.
Do you have Pollard? I think is an important question.
Right.
If you have Zeke and Pollard, I would rather have that than just Cook. And
this is hilarious because Kondo has Zeke and Pollard, and I have Cook and Madison. So this is a fantastic trade.
Do not have Pollard.
Okay. Wait, so you'd be giving up Zeke for Cook?
Yes.
Oh. I don't know. I think Cook has better games to come. And
he has Pollard too. Oh,
so he has
you got to tell this guy to just stop hoarding all the handcuffs.
God damn, dude. Are you in a league with Kenny? Like
it sounds like
Kenny and Con taking all that.
I don't think Kenny has any handcuffs.
He has a handcuff to my heart.
Huh. That was kind of sweet.
It was.
In regards to this question, I would say probably.
I don't know if you do. Why would you? If you're getting Cook.
I'd rather have Cook than Zeke.
I mean, I'd rather have Cook than Zeke too, but like you won't have any of the backups though. Like,
but they don't. He doesn't have any of the backups anyways.
Right. Like I feel like you should try to like finesse into someone. Like try to finesse for Madison or Pollard as best you can. Throw in like a bench wide receiver or something.
Won't give him up for anything.
Like anything? Like
it sounds like a ham. And what about grilled cheese? Grilled cheese with ham or turkey.
Half eaten grilled cheese right here. Turkey on it. And some apples with caramel. It's absolutely delightful.
He wants Woods for Madison.
Do it.
It depends how your receiver situation is, but
I say do it.
1 and 3, like at 1 and 3, like I imagine the receiver. I don't know. Situation has to be, can't be like great. I might be making a big assumption there, Bobsy, but
Your
I
team
would
could be good. I mean, my team's 1 and 3, but I've given up the third most points against me. So it's not always the team. Sometimes it's the matchup.
sure. You also have
I also
who
have,
as your starting wide receivers, or had who as your starting wide receivers?
I had Julio and Shepard, but both of them were listed as out. So I had Henry Ruggs and Akeem as my
So
guy.
for Vopsy, we say I would do the trade as is, but like definitely make your best effort for Madison.
Right. Have him send that first trade. That way you can always negotiate. He has A.J. Brown, Deontay Johnson.
Both. That's what I meant to click on.
And Marvin Jones. I don't know what you clicked on before. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I would probably.
I'd do it. You have.
I would probably do it as well.
I mean, yeah. Try to send it. I believe you have another question.
Both the Chase, Claypool, and
Jamar. I think that's fine. Like, I think your
I would do it. Fine. I think your receivers are fine.
I still think you try to like throw in someone to try to get Pollard or Madison. But
well, that's what we're saying. We were saying.
I know that's what you're saying.
You would do Zeke and Robert Woods for Cook and Madison, because I would.
Would I do it? I don't know if I would, because I have Cook.
Well, that's what we're just arguing.
Yeah.
No, we're not arguing about it from your perspective, Cody. We're saying, should Vopsy trade Zeke and Robert Woods for Cook and Madison? Nobody's talking about your team.
I think you should.
Yes.
Or Cook and Pollard. Get the best of both worlds.
No, not Cook and Pollard. Cook and Madison.
Pollard's going to have a better year than Madison.
Yeah, but what if Cook gets hurt and Zeke stays healthy? That makes no sense. So
Pollard has fantasy relevance even with Zeke.
Cook and Madison, please, before he keeps talking.
I'll talk all day.
Hubbard or Singletary as RB2? Let me look at those matchups, because that's probably going to be big. Singletary plays KC. I don't think it does matter about the matchup. I'm going Hubbard. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. I feel a lot better about Hubbard than Cody does.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's kind of in that low to mid RB2 consideration, as long as he is the starter. So I'm going Hubbard 100%.
So Devin Singletary will get you more yards. He is not the red zone. He's not the red zone guy, but like marching down the field, that's who's in. Like Zach Moss is in, like inside like the 5. That's when he gets in there.
20s.
I've seen Devin Singletary's number inside 20. Come on now. Let's not make it an assumption. Chuba Hubbard, on the other hand,
it's not. You watched a Bills game?
I did watch the Bills game because I was really hoping for Devin Singletary, baby.
I think you go Singletary. We want to make that a bet. We have a lot of long-term bets, but we don't have any for this week. Singletary or Hubbard, more points this week?
I think, let me look at Devin and who he's playing. But
I want this bet to be in half point. I'm not doing it in full. Because I know this league is half point.
Well, now you're cutting me here.
Well, you know the league is half point for these guys.
All right, Devin Singletary. I'll take the bet. Devin Singletary.
Okay. I bet that Hubbard will score more than Devin Singletary in a half point PPR. Cody bets that Singletary will score more points than Hubbard in half point PPR this week. I think that's it.
Oh, I think we have another one.
Oh. Won't give up Madison. Do I just do the 1-for-1?
Yeah, 1-for-1.
I think so. I think you have to. I mean, that's very annoying. Unless you just want to spite him and say, not until you give up a handcuff. But 1 and 3 is probably not the time to go making spite moves. So
at all times.
So I'd probably go
Remember,
take it.
he is only 1 year long. Grudges last forever. Hold him as long as you can.
Currently have Sanders and Edmonds as my starting running back.
Disgusting.
I have Devontae, D-Hop, and Deontay as my receivers. What running back should I try to trade for to give up one of my wide receivers?
I think you should go with like a low end RB1 upside, but RB2 floor. Because I don't. D-Hop's not having a hell of a year yet.
Yeah, I think D-Hop's probably the one you can get, because
you could get rid of D-Hop.
I think you're still going to get more value for D-Hop than Deontay.
I like
just based on name.
I like Deontay though this year.
Yeah, and I would rather trade D-Hop.
Right, I think you try to trade for like a lower end guy, maybe like a Miles Sanders, Clyde Edwards. Are you telling me you can't get that?
Can you read that, please, again?
What RB should I try to trade for?
No, the first sentence.
Man. Oh, he has Sanders.
Literally, the first thing that he says is he has Miles Sanders. That's only on this show. Where are you going to get better fantasy advice than someone telling you to trade for the running back that they say is their number one top running back on it? You can't get it anywhere else. Can't beat it. D-Hop for James Robinson, if you could get it, would be sick. I think
that trade,
depending on the Urban Meyer situation and depending on what else you could throw in too.
I think I don't think you should go for a Fournette just because Fournette's not going to have a good year. But I think maybe a Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibbs. What do you mean? Kareem Hunt?
I think Antonio Gibson's a good one.
Antonio Gibson, Kareem Hunt. Maybe even try to get a Cordell Patterson, someone like that.
Stop it with the Cordell Patterson.
Up with the number 2 running back in the league through 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
You think that's okay? Well,
1 week it's a fluke. 2 weeks it look for one. Unless you want someone with a floor. If you want someone with a floor, it's gonna be tougher.
I like the Antonio Gibson one a lot. I think that's probably the most possible. And we both said D-Hop is the guy you would look to give. I feel like with the D-Hop name, and D-Hop's going to be solid. I think he's probably going to be as good as Deontay the rest of the season. Right. But he has the name value that I think
he has the name value, but he also has all these weapons now, around him. AJ Green, Kirk, and more. It just makes it so the name D-Hop for novice people. If you're in a league that actually knows what they're talking about, or at least watches at least a half of fantasy football a week.
Let's not trash fantasy football people, man. This is community. We can talk nicely about other people. We don't have to talk nicely about each other, but other people.
I only say nice things about you. What my doctor gets to see is different, but I say out loud.
Yeah, I think those are the better choices. I wouldn't do Chris Carson, would you?
Chris Carson?
It's too risky right now.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this owner already had Chris Carson.
No, it's different league, Cody.
Different league? Oh, thank God.
They do not have Devontae, D-Hop, Deontay in our league.
You could, though, right?
Nah, if you were just making fun of people who don't pay attention in our league. If this guy had a completely different team, you thought that this might be the team where he has none of these guys.
Right.
On that note, I think we're done for today. Thank you all for asking questions. We appreciate it.
I appreciate
you all for listening. We will be. What was that?
Joe Mixon. Final word of advice.
Joe Mixon. If he doesn't play this week,
he won't.
He's going to play next week.
Next week it's questionable, but no.
I think there's a decent chance that he plays this week. But you know what? We still have plenty of time, and we'll be back Thursday.
We will.
To update you on the Mixon situation, update you on a plethora of injury situations, and get you ready for Thursday night football and the rest of the weekend slate.
Right.
We will see you all in a couple days.
See you then.